Okay, today we're going to be taking a look at the graphic compilation of the Death of Superman series, which encompasses 7 major comic books in the series up until Superman's death and fighting Doomsday. Now, as you can see in the early panels, in each of the 7 comics, you would see a fist pounding against a steel wall. Doomsday was only hinted at and referenced to, so you didn't really know who or what Doomsday is. And you can see with each punch, he makes a little bit more of a dent into that steel wall, and so crack-a-doom! Doomsday is here, is what it would say in the panel in the first comic. And we see this young boy here asking Superman to come to the West Side tunnels and save his mother from the Warworlders. And as you can see, they're taking over an electrical power plant in order to turn on this underground borer machine. Superman finds the Warworlders' boring machine and takes it apart piece by piece. Clawster orders one of the Warworlders to attack Superman with a grenade, but he quickly turns it around on Clawster, and they begin attacking him with their high-tech tanks. So Superman pursues the leader of the Warworlders and captures him, and they let them know that they will hold a trial and deal with him down in Underworld. Meanwhile, Doomsday is going on a rampage through the forest, killing any wildlife that he comes across, including birds and deers, and he sees the Justice League flying overhead in the bug. All he does know is he wants to destroy it and throws a tree through the Justice League's bug. The Justice League plummet to Earth and soon begin their battle with Doomsday. Bloodwind takes him on first, but is no match for the great monster. Guy Gardner also comes in, thinking he can quickly take Doomsday out, but him and Fire find out that they're no match either. Unfortunately, the Blue Beetle takes the worst of the fight with Doomsday and is left for dead. Amidst the carnage of the battle, Ice pleads with Maxima to save the life of the Blue Beetle. Maxima disagrees and believes that there's a battle to be fought, but finally agrees because Ice helped her against Starbreaker. Next we cut to a suburban neighborhood with typical banter between a teenage kid and his mom. We see Ice getting thrown through the glass and startling the family inside. Going outside, they realize that Doomsday did all this, and only with one hand tied behind his back. Booster Gold comes down with Superman asking, who is this guy that's causing all this damage? And he says, oh yeah, Doomsday, and takes a punch without missing a beat. But Doomsday attacks with a swift kick, and Superman realizes he's no one to mess with. So the rest of the Justice League attack Doomsday with all their powers in a combined concentrated effort, but it's no match for Doomsday, and he just plows right through them like a freight train. During the confrontation, Doomsday knocks Bloodwind's I-beams into a nearby gas line and causes the family's house to set on fire, with the teenagers screaming for help for Superman. Superman hears the boys' cries for help, but has to ignore it because he feels that getting a hold of Doomsday and stopping him is more important. Meanwhile, the teenagers are still screaming while the rest of the Justice League try to get to their feet. Realizing the rest of the Justice League is in no position to help, Superman finally turns back to help the family, but gets blindsided by Doomsday. After gaining the upper hand in the battle, Superman realizes he needs to incapacitate the monster in order to be able to save the family. He drives Doomsday into the soft dirt in the riverbed below and goes back to help, noticing Bloodwind shows surprising resiliency. Meanwhile, Doomsday breaks free of the soft riverbed and sees an Apache Army helicopter and decides to attack it and destroy it. With the missiles and airmen falling down to the earth, Superman quickly picks one of the rogue rockets that are flying around and sends it back in Doomsday's direction, sending him hurtling back down to Earth. Doomsday crashes down on top of a nearby police cruiser, and soon after, Superman comes crashing down right on top of him, showing that he's not playing around. And as the battle continues, Doomsday shows he's not playing around anymore either. This is for keeps. Back in Metropolis, Supergirl and Lex Luthor watch the news to see that the battle's getting out of hand. Supergirl wants to help, but Lex Luthor convinces her to stay with him. Meanwhile, we see the fight continuing, with Maxima fully recovered and battling Doomsday. Being an All-American, she revels in battle and really gets into the fight, enjoying blow for blow everything that Doomsday can offer. Superman tells her to back off because there's civilians nearby and other people might get hurt. Maxima doesn't care and is only concerned with the fact that she's facing death in battle is her chance for glory. Superman notices all the gasoline gushing up and sees Maxima pulling a light post out of the ground, causing it to spark in an immense explosion. Superman comes to with Guardian helping him to his feet and asks him to take Maxima to a hospital because she's now incapacitated with a concussion. We turn to see Doomsday tearing through cars on a local freeway, and he sees a car coming towards him and isn't sure exactly what it is, but decides that it would be fun to throw it up into the air. The driver loses his mind, and Superman flies up to save him, and he still thinks that he's going to die. We catch up with Doomsday again and see that this time he's trashed a Lexmart with people running for their lives. Doomsday wanders around the inside of the store confused, and he hears a voice talking about a wrestling match in Metropolis. Since violence and destruction appeal to Doomsday, he puts it together that this match is in Metropolis. News reports of Doomsday's rampage still concern Supergirl, but Lex tells her that Metropolis needs her there more. Doomsday goes outside and sees a sign for Metropolis, realizing that's where the wrestling match is taking place. Superman realizes he has to stop him before he can create more carnage. Their battle goes into the woods, but it's not the woods and is actually Project Cadmus. Superman and Doomsday don't even realize because they're so busy fighting each other. After they're knocked unconscious, Guardian comes to help Superman, but Doomsday plows through the rubble and leaves Guardian and Superman both left for dead. Next, Doomsday comes upon a construction site, still screaming about Metropolis as he kills the construction workers working there. Superman again finds Doomsday and tries to put an end to his carnage. Guardian wonders what type of creature Doomsday is, but Dubelek says he can only sense hate. Doomsday breaks free of Superman's hold and crashes back down through the construction site. The battle is being broadcast live all over TV, and the Kents back in Kansas see the battle and worry for their boy. Superman struggles to free himself from the rubble, and here we see him bleeding as he thinks to himself he might not live to finish off Doomsday at all. Doomsday crashes down through to Underworld, and he comes across the War-Worlders and breaks them out of jail, but unintentionally. They thank him for their unexpected freedom, but Doomsday doesn't care and quickly shows them what he's all about. Superman is hot on Doomsday's trail and quickly finds him in Underworld. He wrestles with the beast and flies him up to the surface, but Doomsday trips on an electrical conduit and blows all of Underworld all to hell. The shockwave shakes the city up above, and Supergirl realizes now she has to act. She steps in to help Superman and attacks Doomsday in the battle, but is no match for Doomsday. Doomsday punches her and turns her face to jelly as she falls back down to the street below. Professor Harrison, one of Superman's longtime friends, has hauled a cannon up to the roof and shoots Doomsday, but he falls back down on top of them and they have to jump for their lives. Superman flies in to save the day again, shielding a family below that's affected by the blast from the destruction. Up above, Police Commissioner Turpin decides to foolishly take on Doomsday by himself. Superman steps in to save him and tells him and his police officers to leave because it's way too dangerous to try to fight Doomsday. With Doomsday wreaking havoc in Metropolis, Superman decides it ends here once and for all. Cadmus flies in with their shock cannons to try to stop Doomsday, but it does no good and doesn't even faze him. The news choppers are only getting in the way, and Superman has to slow down to save them. Lois tells them that Doomsday might be too much and asks him to go get help. Superman eases her fears and says no matter what happens, he will always love her. Always. With the Man of Steel having the home court advantage and more fired up than ever, he realizes he has to put an end to Doomsday once and for all. But Lois reminds him that no matter how strong or determined Superman is, Doomsday wants to kill, and Superman can't. At this point, the battle has been raging on for days, and Superman's body has really taken the toll. Bleeding and beaten like he's never been before, he can barely stay conscious and realizes he must take Doomsday now. The force of their impacts shatters glass in the Daily Planet skyscrapers, and you can see their final blows as Lois and other bystanders realize that's the end of this battle. They see Superman fall and not have the energy to get back up. They wonder, is this the end? Will he get up? It can't end like this. But it does. Doomsday is defeated, but unfortunately this was the day that a Superman died. Even after Superman's death, the saga still continued, with Funeral for a Friend, with all the heroes in the DC Universe attending his funeral, and the reign of the Supermen, with the Eradicator, Cyborg, Man of Steel, and Superboy all claiming to be the real deal. Superman would eventually be resurrected, but with none of his powers intact. He came back to save Coast City from the grip of the cyborg, Hank Henshaw, but no one knew if it was really him or not. The Eradicator stepped in and shielded Superman from a blast of radioactive kryptonite, restoring his powers. Superman finally destroyed the cyborg by vibrating his arm at an incredible rate and blasting the cyborg to bits. Afterwards, all the rest of the Superman declared that this was indeed the real deal. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this quick documentary on the death and return of Superman. This is one of my favorite all-time comic series ever, and I think it's one of the most important in comic book history aside from the Nightfall series with Batman and Bane. It showed us that Superman was more than just an invincible superhero, that he could bleed, he could feel pain, he could die, and we felt every punch with him along the way of the journey, and we're just as scared when we saw how ruthless and destructive that Doomsday was. This series also helped to revitalize DC, as it was struggling a lot during that time. Marvel was succeeding, and a lot of other new comics like Image and Mirage were breaking into the scene, and people didn't really care about the old antics of corny Superman or Green Lantern. It just wasn't appealing anymore. So this series that spanned almost 2 years really injected a lot of new lifeblood into DC and spawned a lot new adventures of Superman and Reign of the Supermen, with the Man of Steel, the Eradicator, and Superboy continuing on afterwards. And for anyone who says that Superman was just in a coma, no, he actually did die. In number 82, the Eradicator explains that Superman was categorically dead, not just comatose. So, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this with me, and we'll see you back here next month for another comic book review. Hey guys, if you liked the video that you just watched, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And if you do the Facebook and Twitter thing, follow me at #KingOfRetro. See you next time.